regional and international players have been recently active in discussions on economic sanctions and the normalization of relations with Syria. Fears over the outbreak of the coronavirus epidemic in the war-torn country have pushed Arab and Western states to take unprecedented steps. Arab officials and former Western diplomats intensified contacts with Damascus in the wake of deterioration in the country's economic and health conditions. After failing to implement the decisions to ban gatherings in front of bakeries and assign delegates to distribute bread in neighborhoods, Damascus plans to distribute it with the use of smart cards in the governorates of Damascus and the rural Damascus. Official statements indicate that the governorates of Damascus and its countryside are preparing for the distribution of bread with the use of smart cards, and that the necessary lists have been prepared for the delegates and the administrative units of state bakeries, while the Ministry of Internal Trade and Supply is making arrangements for distribution through private bakeries. Houthi militia leaders continue to loot funds under the pretext of fundraising to fight the coronavirus in the war-torn country, with operations to collect the illicit royalties recently expanding to Ib Governorate. Despite these gatherings, tens of millions of Yemeni riyals, no action or measures to prevent the virus have been taken. Locals confirm that the majority of preventive measures in Ib district were executed by personal youth initiatives and not by Houthis. Political and physical divisions between the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza have induced two very different responses to the coronavirus pandemic, with a strict lockdown in the first and crowds milling about freely in the second. In the Israeli-occupied West Bank, which has more than 250 recorded cases of the COVID-19 lung disease, a lockdown on public life was swiftly imposed. Bethlehem was sealed off after the first outbreak in March, and a state of emergency was declared. In Gaza, where Hamas ruling the sector, Hamas says health conditions make a full lockdown unnecessary in Gaza, but it has closed schools, mosques and wedding halls and banned large street gatherings. Acts of violence erupted in the El Qubayn prison in Tripoli, warning of an imminent explosion that might reach all jails across Lebanon. The riot reflected the prisoners' anxiety over the spread of the coronavirus inside the prison and sent a strong message to the government to expedite the approval of the general amnesty law before the situation gets out of control. The uproar in the Tripoli prison lasted until dawn as screams and shouts were heard tens of meters away outside the prison. The Saudi Authority for Industrial Cities and Technology Zones revealed that over 300 factories specialized in food and health products are working in full capacity, adding that despite the coronavirus crisis, these factories received industrial investment requests from China and Korea to produce vital supplies. The 310 facilities include 290 food factories and 20 medical factories located in 35 different industrial cities supervised by the Saudi Authority. Officials have stressed that production is taking place alongside the implementation of all health precautions in cooperation with the Ministry of Health. Iraqi President Barham Saleh named head of National Intelligence Service Mustafa Kazemi as the country's third prime minister designate this year, moments after predecessor Adnan Zurfi withdrew his candidacy. The nomination ceremony was attended by the country's top political figures, indicating widespread support for Kazemi that both previous PM designates had not enjoyed. Kazemi now has 30 days to form a new cabinet and present it to the parliament for approval. Moroccan authorities said that people who leave their homes without wearing face masks risk facing a prison sentence and a fine, but a large number of Moroccans were unable to secure the mandatory masks as they were sold out around the country. On social media, many expressed that they were unable to purchase masks and that they preferred not to leave their homes. Local traders reported that they had received limited quantities that ran out quickly. Prime Minister Saaduddin Al-Othmani reassured citizens that factories will produce approximately 2.5 million masks daily. Hamas Politburo Chief Ismail Haniyeh has announced the movement is ready to negotiate a prisoner swap deal if Israel positively responds to its demands. Haniyeh said the movement is determined to release the prisoners within the framework of the exchange deal that can be accomplished if Israeli officials respond to the requirements. Haniyeh did not clarify what the requirements were, but the movement has long proposed the release of all prisoners of the previous deal, who were later detained before making any new deal. Palestinian volunteers have set up semi-official roadblocks across vast territory in the rural areas of the West Bank in a rare initiative to help bolster the efforts of the authorities in fighting the coronavirus, as the number of those infected with the virus spikes in rural areas, mostly in Area C, which comprises 2/3 of the West Bank. Emergency committees find themselves facing tough challenges. Interior Ministers of Gulf Cooperation Council, or the GCC, have agreed to unify efforts to confront the risks of COVID-19 as Gulf states record an increasing number of cases. The meeting comes in light of the current international developments due to the repercussions of the spread of the emerging virus. The ministers also discussed the latest developments in GCC states confronting the coronavirus, as well as security measures taken as part of the efforts to limit its spread. The Sultanate of Oman has banned movement into and out of the Governorate of Muscat from April 10th until April 22nd. Health Minister Ahmed bin Mohammed Al Saidi said in a radio interview the biggest spread in the Sultanate was in the coastal commercial area of Mutara, located in Muscat Governorate, where a lockdown was imposed last week. He said authorities would wrap up testing as the number of cases was expected to peak this month, and that Oman had secured lab equipment and protective gear from China. The Egyptian Health Ministry denied the news that a pharmaceutical company based in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, started producing chloroquine phosphate medication primarily used to treat malaria patients, describing the company's alleged statement as void of truth. The Health Ministry spokesperson said the World Health Organization has not yet adopted any effective treatment for the coronavirus. Earlier, the Prime Minister gave a speech to announce measures to curb the spread of the coronavirus, including extending curfew and the flight ban in the northwestern African country until April 23rd. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that it is too soon to talk about the consequences for China for what U.S. officials believe is Beijing's slow reporting of the extent of the coronavirus crisis in China. Pompeo, addressing a White House news briefing with President Trump, said the United States has repatriated 50,000 American citizens stranded around the world by various shutdowns related to the virus, and that there are still several thousand more to bring back. China reported only about 3,000 deaths from the virus, which originated in Wuhan, a figure Trump and other officials doubt given high death tolls in other countries.